Mine breaching in Ukraine. Swedish volunteers training Ukrainian soldiers on how to quickly get through a minefields with extremely high risk. That's today's topic. My name is Max Villman. I'm a former fighter pilot in the Swedish Air Force, and let's go. Yeah, in this article from the end of last year, from Zaluzhny. Valery Zaluzhny is the Supreme Commander-in-Chief of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, or is about to get switched right now. But in this article from The Economist, he outlines what is needed for Ukraine to win the war, what kind of support they need. And one of the key components that he talks about is the ability to breach minefields. And mine breaching is actually different from mine clearing. Mine clearing is something that is done without an external threat, or at least without a high external threat, while mine breaching is something you do whilst the enemy actually has the ability to shoot artillery on you, to fire on their machine guns at you, and so on and so forth. Send their drones, which is also very popular or common in Ukraine right now. So mine breaching is something that is extremely important for Ukraine to go on the offensive and clear the Surovikin line. But how that is done in the West and how that is actually needed to be done in Ukraine is quite different. So today we are looking at the SWEOD, which is a voluntary group of ex-Swedish military personnel that are training Ukrainian soldiers in how to breach minefields.
Surovikin-linjen började byggas officiellt den 19 augusti 2022. På grund av för lite och för sent stöd från väst så påbörjades motoffensiven inte förrän ett helt år senare. Under den tiden så upprättade Ryssland vad man kan argumentera för är världens mest befästa försvarslinje någonsin. Hela vägen från ryska gränsen i norr till Svarta havet i söder.
Yeah, so the Surovikin line, you saw perhaps the text here in the bottom. There's I will put a link to SWEOD's video down in the description if you want to check it out. But obviously they had a lot of time to build this Surovikin line with extreme depth, so along the entire front. Otherwise, normal Swedish and also NATO doctrine is to really emphasize movement of own troops, movement and maneuver, which is what we want. So when we get to a minefield, we usually don't stop and clear it or breach it. We usually just try to go around it and attack from the flanks instead. But obviously, when the entire front line is littered with mines, there's no way around it. You have to go through it, and that is where mine breaching became so important. And this is something that the Western instructors could not prepare the Ukrainian soldiers for, because it basically just wasn't in our doctrine. Another important topic is that the Russians have left their doctrine. Their normal doctrine is one way to construct minefields, and now they have constructed much larger minefields than what they usually would do according to doctrine. They have also increased the depth of the minefields, so it's longer to go through. They have also increased the number of mines per square meter or square feet, which in turn makes it even more dangerous to cross it. So how are they breaching the minefields today?
För att minbryta och skapa en passage genom minfält så behövs det för det första omfattande spanings- och planeringsarbete där minfältets utbredning och komponenter hittas.
So the first step is to do recon, to find how big the minefield is and to see how big the minefield is. And there's special equipment for this. This is a mine clearing tank, mine clearing vehicle, which is specifically designed to clear mines and minefields and breach them. But unfortunately, this is extremely high value asset. So it will be immediately targeted by FPV, first person view drones. It will be targeted by artillery. It will be targeted by anti-tank mines. So this is something that the Russians are actively looking for. And this is a very high priority target, much higher priority than a normal infantry fighting vehicle or tank. So you cannot bring this forward, and Ukraine doesn't have enough of these anyway. So another way is to
på den linjen som man sen kan anfalla genom
worm mine.
Den svenska minröjningsormen är hyllad som en av de absolut bästa.
This is the Swedish mine clearing worm. So basically you are firing a rocket with a long what should you say, explosive device that is laid across the ground, and you saw the parachute there. Then you detonate this, and this clears a way through the minefield. But obviously the Russians have created minefields that are much, much deeper than this mine clearing worm is able to get through. Therefore you need to fire more worms, which in turn makes everything much, much slower.
Och då anpassas mineringen med taktiska och tekniska modifieringar på hur minorna nyttjas samt tillförsel av nyutvecklade minor för att göra dem svårare att ta sig igenom. Och så går det runt. Och så har det gått runt i Ukraina i 10 år nu. Och Ryssland har utvecklat många nya toppmoderna minor de här senaste 10 åren.
So there's many new versions of mines mixed in with old mines. So once you get something that is good at clearing one type of mine, the enemy adapts and creates something that is counter to that. That's how war goes. You create counters and then counters to the counters and so on and so forth. What does SWEOD do? SWEOD is this Swedish.
Jag kom till Ukraina i mars förra året, så ganska sent. Jag tog anställning i internationella legionen och började redan där utbilda i mintjänsten. Min bakgrund som EOD-operatör och hotbilden som finns gör det ganska tydligt vad det var jag skulle bidra med.
So Dalle, the Swedish volunteer here, is an EOD operator, a former one in the Swedish Armed Forces. And EOD stands for Explosive Ordnance Disposal, clearing of explosive devices basically, where you find mines as well. And during the 2010s, obviously it was a lot of focus on EOD in the form of clearing IEDs or improvised explosive devices from terrorists, for example in Afghanistan and so on. But now it has switched back to the original work, which is clearing mines. And Dalle is down there and clearing mines with the Swedish volunteers and training Ukrainian soldiers in becoming
och tredje separata stormbrigader, en av Ukrainas absolut främsta förband. Och där började jag utbilda extremt erfarna och välmotiverade veteraner. Och många hade stridit i över 5 år. Och vi jobbar på och vi gick igenom handgreppen och metoderna, men väldigt snabbt så började dessa erfarna soldater ifrågasätta utbildningen som jag gav. Det går för långsamt, sa de. Vi har inte den tiden vid fronten. Vi springer igenom minfält hela tiden. Lär oss hur.
So I want you to imagine that they are actually running through minefields all the time, because if they stop, there's a bigger risk than running through the minefield. So extremely high risk while running through the minefield, but if you stop, there's another risk coming in, a risk from artillery, risk from FPV drones, risk from machine gun fire, and so on and so forth. So in order to decrease the overall risk of the offensive, which is of course in total extremely high risk, you run through minefields, and this is what the Ukrainian soldiers needed from Dalle, the Swedish volunteer. How can we run through minefields safer? So I want you all to think a little bit about that, what kind of risks we're talking about here for these guys that are actually running through minefields. Before I go any further, do me a solid and give me a like on the video, a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone if you have someone that wants to know more about this, or you think wants to know more about this, because this is how I'm able to do this and keep growing the channel.
Detta är nu vad SWEOD gör. Vi lär dem hur de gör detta snabbare, under strid med extremt hög risktagning. Och med era donationer får vi dem att lyckas. Detta är inte ett koncept som finns i svenska handböcker. I Sverige övar vi inte minbrytning så här snabbt och absolut inte under direkt beskjutning. Detta är ett koncept som vi har utvecklat tillsammans med andra och som har tagit lång tid att utveckla.
So this is an entirely new concept, adaptation to this war, a new concept of getting through minefields extremely quickly, but with extremely high risk. But in total it reduces the risk, and it's the only way forward for the Ukrainian offensive. So if you want to support SWEOD, go in on their webpage and make a donation. I think that's very much appreciated.
Vissa av röjmetoderna är väldigt farliga men mycket snabbare. Och nu är det testat i strid. Minornas primära syfte det är inte att döda ukrainarna. Det är att stoppa dem så att artilleriet, FPV-drönare och andra vapensystem kan förinta dem när de är fast.
That's what we talked about. The mine's main objective is to keep the Ukrainians stuck so that they can be destroyed by artillery, machine gun fire, FPV drones, etc. And also the Ukrainians, when you go on offensive, you need much more training when you are defensive than when you are defensive. And most of the newly conscripted Russian soldiers, they have not gotten that good training, but they can be perfectly well equipped to handle defensive operations from trenches, from firing positions, static fighting, which is much easier than offensive fighting. But the thing is that once the Ukrainians actually get through the minefield and get to the trenches, they are superior to the Russians and they're able to clear. And so if we can get them through your guys' donations and our donations to get through the minefields, they will clear the trenches and win the fight.
Där har de inte alltid tiden att pika med kniv eller svepa med minsökare när de anfaller, utan de måste vara snabbare för att lyckas. Så vi fokuserar på att jobba med ögonen.
So focus on the eyes, on seeing things.
Självklart så utbildar vi i minsökare och grundmetoder också. Om de har möjligheten att jobba mer systematiskt ska de absolut ha möjligheten att göra det. Sen så använder de också den här verktygen när de jobbar snabbare, men mer som ett sekundärt verktyg. Och vi har möjligheten att genomföra denna typ av utbildning på ett bra sätt. Vi övar i sönderskjuten mark som ser ut som fronten ser ut.
This is extremely important that you train as you fight. So they are doing the training in old fighting grounds where the ground is destroyed, and they place their training mines that look exactly like Russian mines, disabled Russian mines, most of them, and also the technical modifications that the Russians have started to do on their mines that is not in the normal books, so to speak.
Vi har lärt oss de flesta taktiska och tekniska modifieringar som ryssarna gör på minorna. Och vi nyttjar hundratals övningsminor när vi utbildar i ett 3D-printat system som vi utvecklat tillsammans med Wild Beast Sweden. Och vi har genom denna utbildning lyckats bygga förtroende på de förband som vi arbetar. Tillräckligt mycket för att den utbildning vi genomför fortsätter internt när inte vi är där. Och det är vi väldigt stolta över. Under 2023 har vi utbildat 335.
So I trained a lot of guys and they need our help to continue this. And now we're talking about the combat engineers, what their work and their task is.
Konceptet stormpionjär som vi kallar det är inte detsamma som en svensk stormpionjär. Det är en soldatbefattning på gruppnivå, precis som en stridssjukvårdare. Det är alltså en soldat i en anfallsgrupp med strid som huvuduppgift som har utbildning och utrustning för att hantera gruppens omedelbara minhot. Stormpionjären anfaller i tät och leder skyttegruppen genom mineringarna till fiendens positioner. Ofta gör de det nattetid också, som paradoxalt är mindre farligt för dem.
I want you guys to imagine that these guys are actually running through minefields in pitch black whilst relying on visual aids to not get blown up. That's the guys that these Swedish volunteers are training. That's the Ukrainian soldiers, the combat engineers. So I think this is extremely high risk, of course, and all cred to these brave men fighting for their own freedom. So if you want to support SWEOD, I put a link down here. So go to SWEOD's YouTube channel. You can find their PayPal. You can donate also in dollars and support their very, very important mission. But I will end it there. Thank you so much for watching. Please give me a like on the video and share it with someone you think will benefit from the message. You can also buy me a coffee on Ko-fi. You have the link down in the description below. You can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram if you want to learn more. But that's all for now, and until next time, my name is Max Villman. Fly safe.